Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4169. Today's date is July 23, 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 8:55 a.m. Alright, from last couple of days, it's been heavy rain, like a non-stop. Okay, and because of this thing, entire it's not like a kind of like my routine is actually disturbed. No, but yeah, like little bit disturbed. Okay, yeah. Um, from last 2 days, I haven't really went to workout. The reason is that, ki, yeah, like a rain. Okay. Another thing is that na, ki I'm actually suffering from little bit of cold, and I don't want to kind of like I don't want to kind of like went sick more. Okay. If I went to work out and rainy season and rain and things and that. So probably I'm kind of like keeping it myself little bit of safe till the rain gone. Till the rain gone. I don't know. I'm kind of like making a lot of mistake regarding about grammatical mistake. Okay. Uh the routine is actually disturbed is not just because of the rain. Something actually happened at home, and I don't want to talk about it. Okay. Like, what's the thing actually happened? This is a typical thing that Nikki, you are 33, you are living with your parents, not earning any money, that and that and that and that. Yeah, right now it doesn't really kind of like affect me that much. But still, there is a one thing that it kind of like really affect me that much. That key, I am building my application since 17th of May. Okay, and it's been almost like a 2 month. Okay, 17th of May to 17th of June. 17th of June to 17th of July. Today's date is the 23rd July. That means almost like I spent almost like a 2 months to build this application. Now my application is almost built. Okay, but there is so many kind of like a backend structure that little bit of kind of like a fragile. Okay, and I wanted to fix that thing. Um, so I am trying to fix. Okay, like there is a lot of kind like basically it's this thing na ki the one thing that I realize, okay, a myth, okay, that ki with the AI you could build your application within a 10 minute. Completely wrong, false, completely wrong. Who says that thing? Okay, yeah. No one can kind of like build the entire kind of like a full-fledged application within a 10 minute. No, it's you can't. You cannot. Okay, yeah. Basically is this thing na, the most of the kind of like application that maybe kind of like within a 10 minute it kind of like made, those are the web based application. Okay, yeah. And web based application is not an application, it's a website. Okay, yeah. Application is a very like a basically you have only two ways to kind of like build the application. First is that key Android App Store, sorry, Android Studio by for the Android. If you wanted to make your application for Android, then you need to use Android Studio. One thing. Another thing, if you wanted to make application for iOS, then iOS Studio, like Apple Studio. Okay, to kind of like build the application for Apple or iOS. That's it. Those are kind of like a two things. Then rest of the things like a Replit and whatnot they have, these are kind of like a web-based application. This is not a application, definitely not. Okay, yeah. But it also kind of like depend on which kind of like application that you are kind of like making. If you are kind of like building such an application that just kind of like doesn't really require that much amount of kind of like a user interface, or maybe kind of like providing the information just from one to another, then okay, in that particular situation you could build such app. But my application is a kind of like a interactive with the user, like basically it is thing that key, it has a kind of like a record button, people kind of click the record and things, and that there is a lot of things actually happen. So yeah, and I'm actually using AI by the way. But there is a one thing for sure, I spent almost like a 2 months of building this application. But there is a one thing I realize, the application that I'm making right now is like like really like basically is this thing na ki it's like kind of like that ki I'm building like I cannot able to be build such an application by myself, or like even if I kind of like a hire any kind of like a simply Android developer and kind of like a build, that particular person will also not gonna build such a application regarding about constraint of kind of like a something the budget and limit and things and that. With the AI, obviously it will take almost like a 2 months, but I built such an application that just kind of like a work, not only just work, but it work. Yeah, I don't know, am I kind of like a stupid, I'm not really sure, but like it's really good. Okay, yeah, there is a kind of like a little bit of backend kind of like a things that I have to figure it out, and yeah. All right, so basically today I will not gonna ask any kind of like some question today. Why? Okay, yeah, why? That's really good. Last night I was kind of like simply doing my work till almost like a 2 a.m. Yeah, like usually I never really kind of like push myself that much amount of time during the night, because I prefer to kind of like a sleep, and prefer to kind of like a sleep almost like a like 11 or 12 a.m. and kind of like a wake up at 7 a.m. So my routine kind of like a little bit of good, but basically this thing that last night I kind of like pushed myself a little bit. It's not really that I pushed myself, no. It's just like I didn't like I don't like I just forgot the looking at the time and things and that. Okay, yeah, I was kind of like doing my work, and when I started doing my work I realized that it's been almost like 12:47. Okay, so I thought that key, yeah, sure, whatever. Okay, so and also is this thing I'm actually kind of like doing a kind of like a little bit of kind of like a something back end, some sort of problem actually happened. The It's not kind of like a something testing, debugging. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of like a debugging and things and that. So yeah. Okay, there is a one question that I have to be asked to myself: when this will application will done. Okay, so there are a couple of things in my application that I actually like basically in the first release I don't want to implement, or I don't want to like execute. What is exactly that? Share button. Okay, like a share button I will not gonna include at the moment. Okay, so share button would be like basically is this in the future I will kind of like add a share button, but right now no, I will not gonna add any share button because it kind of like takes so much amount of time and things and that. So I'm gonna kind of like simply let it remove. Okay, yeah, let it remove means like I will not gonna implement that. Another thing is that ki uh, like what exactly is this thing what I was kind of like talking about. Share, like button that we have, Lazun comment, yeah, comment is actually button is actually enabled. Okay, artifact can play. Okay, also is this thing I was actually thought that key like every artifact should supposed to be play only in headphone, not in the speaker. Okay, but still this will kind of like a take like a next release I will not gonna implement in the beginning. Another thing is that ki comment, like, and I don't know, there are kind of like so many features that I am not try to implement at the beginning, because basically is this thing, these are kind of like some sort of preview purse. What's a preview purse? A preview purse means like those are kind of like add-on. Oh yeah, first of all I just wanted to test that does people actually record artifact or not. Okay, and that's a kind of like one of the biggest concern, and for that particular thing having artifact plus kind of like a comment button, and people can able to be, yeah. Another thing is that now privacy. Okay, because because sorry about. Okay. Privacy. Okay, so that is also a kind of like a big concern right now in my application. There is only one way to kind of like get into the application, is that login, okay, by Google. So I don't know should I supposed to do this or not, but at the beginning I might gonna implement by the Google. Okay, like basically I was actually thinking that let's create the independent kind of like a login system, and yeah, but right now everything is kind of like a something. I'm using Google. Okay, so basic like Google server, Google AdSense, Google kind of like a something the Firebase and things and that. So probably I should supposed to use just a Google. Not I will not gonna kind of like a depend on another thing, or maybe like I don't really have a choice. Google is the only one that I have a choice. It kind of like give me all the kind of like some the freedom and flexibility regarding about building my application and things and that. So at the beginning kind of like a stick with the login through Google. Okay. uh okay then there is also another kind of like concern, threshold. Okay, threshold means what? Like basically is this thing that key comment, you can able to be comment after you kind of like a listen almost like a 95% of any artifact. Okay, yeah, only and only then you could able to be comment. Now this is I'm kind of like doing it. Okay, I implemented that, which is really good. Okay, and resonate feature, there is a like a one thing that I wanted to kind of like a something like a like basically I wanted to kind of like implement, and that is a dislike button. Like a like basically people should supposed to be know that ki which artifact is kind of like a something not good artifact. Okay, but then basically it's this thing I like basically I wanted to implement that. I went to ChatGPT, like I kind of like create a project on ChatGPT, like basically artifact application or project, and whatever the command it kind of like the command actually get from the ChatGPT execute in kind of like a Android Studio Gemini agent, and it kind of like execute that well. So yeah, but ChatGPT kind of like saying to me that ki delete button is not really that really good thing. Because of that it kind of like demotivate the people regarding about recording artifact and things and that, which is completely true by the way. But I need kind of like things. So I was actually thinking that na, ki dislike button also I will gonna implement in the next further release, but at the moment I will not add this kind of like a simply release button. Okay, delete button, sorry, um, dislike button. uh yeah, rest of the app is a kind of like a pretty much basic, nothing really at all. Okay, it's not really that too much. Also is this thing, in my application there is also kind of like a uh, follow unfollow kind of like assembly feature, and basically I was thought that ki probably follow this like a follow unfollow is a kind of like a feature I would not going to implement. But then I realized that ki how does community will kind of like assembly evolve and things and that. So yeah, at least like this is kind of like a things that I have to do. Okay, so um basically is this saying how much time it take to build this application. The problem is that na it's not the kind of like a building the application, it's a kind of like that key permission. Okay, yeah, because of that key I am taking the user data. Okay, like from this artifact. Okay, so how do I supposed to be kind of like do the privacy policy and things and that, and how do I supposed to convince them ki but dude, you already kind of like I mentioned that it's not kind of like something wrong if you are kind of like actually providing all the details regarding about I'm taking the information from user from this kind of like a something from artifact, the people who kind of like record everything. So yeah, that is also kind of like a something like basically what is actually happened there while you are kind of like a somebody uploading your application on Play Store. So there is a kind of like a lot of kind of like a file and things and that it kind of like asks that ki what kind of like information that you are kind of like taking from customers or client or people. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing email ID first. Okay, yeah. I don't want to take the email ID, but still is when the user kind of like a login through the email ID, I am getting it. Email ID, then location. Okay, yeah, and then their artifact. These are kind of like three things that I'm getting. And I have to be kind of like explain in the privacy policy regarding about that key, what is actually artifact, what is actually is this recording, and stuff like that. Okay, I don't know. Okay, probably it might gonna take to build the entire application, like basically, just maybe month. Okay, yeah, like right now it just like till the end of the August. I'm pretty sure that key I kind of like build the application, but it's just like that na key, okay, what I like where am I kind of like stuck at? Let me kind of like tell you. So imagine I'm kind of like building a house. Okay, yeah. So from visual point of perspective, I build the house, I build the structure. Okay, yeah. But if I went inside the house now, then I kind of like see a lot of flaws that the plaster is not done, the electricity is not done, the piping is not done, the fire hydrant is not done, the tiles is not done. There are kind of like a lot of things. Okay, yeah. And if every time I went there, there is a kind of like a see lot of flaws, this and that and that and that and that. It's not kind of like a completely full furnish and full kind of like a things. No, it's not. Okay, so this is what it is. I kind of like assembly every time I went inside the application, I kind of like a think that ki why does kind of like application kind of like a bit little bro choppy or kind of like a things and that and that and that. So I try to fix. Okay, yeah, then I fix it. It's gonna take me an entire day to kind of like a fix it. Yeah, literally, it was gonna like okay, yeah. Let me tell you one thing. My architecture, like how I kind of like a fixing the problem and things and that and that. So basically, is this thing that key, whatever the issue that I get. So usually, it's not really issue that I'm kind of like a scene. I kind of like a assembly. I get all the issue from the logcat. Okay, so whatever the issue that I get, I copy that issue and put it into the kind of like a ChatGPT, ChatGPT custom project. Okay, yeah. Now ChatGPT kind of like analyze everything and it kind of like say that this is the kind of like error that you have. Okay, yeah. Now, how do I supposed to fix it? First of all, I try to investigate. So I kind of like a suggest ChatGPT to kind of like a suggest me investigation prompt regarding about that. ChatGPT kind of like a create investigation prompt, copy that prompt, put it into the kind of like a Gemini agent, Google Android Studio agent, paste it. Now Android Studio agent is a kind of like analyze everything regarding about things and that and that and that and that. Then whatever it kind of like a finding, I copy, put it into the ChatGPT. Now ChatGPT kind of like a say, I am not satisfied with this thing, kind of like investigation. I satisfied with this thing, but there are a couple of things are kind of like I didn't get. These are the kind of like another investigation prompt. I copy this thing, put it into the kind of like Android Studio, do this thing, and after that thing, okay, we found a kind of like assembly the kind of like assembly culprit regarding about the why this kind of like assembly error I got and things and that and that. Now it kind of like a suggests me implementation plan. I copy that implementation prompt, paste it into the kind of like a something Google Gemini. Now Gemini kind of like implement everything. Oh yeah, and after the implementation, then problem might gonna fix. Now these are kind of like a some standard routine technique. Okay, and then after that, after I kind of like implement, then after kind of like a runtime verification or manual verification. Now runtime verification takes so much amount of AI credits, so I'm not kind of like a do that thing. I do the manual verification. So basically, after I implement, I also tell them suggest me. I want to do the manual verification. Suggest me step by step guidance and suggest me kind of like what do I supposed to search on Logcat so that I would kind of like give you full evidence. Okay, so I do the manual verification, kind of like then after that, I will kind of like give the provide the basically the evidence logcat, and then after that, that issue actually solved. Okay, so this is a kind of like a standard technique of kind of like solving the problem. First of all, raise the concern, investigation, then after that implementation, then after that verification, manual verification or runtime verification. Okay, yeah, and then after that issue is actually solved. So these are kind of like a 4-5 steps to kind of like implement and things and that and that. But these are kind of like standard. When there is a bug actually happen or something is not, something is kind of like a somebody is this thing that key, there are kind of like a somebody, if I investigate and nothing really happened, I investigate this, that, then implementation. In the implementation, there is also error too. Sometimes Gradle build is a kind of like a building for almost like a more than 10-15 half an hour. So in that situation, I just have to stop it, took the screenshot, put it into this thing, and there is a kind of like a lot of backend error. Like basically is this thing I told you, a kind of like a standard procedure regarding about how do I supposed to fix my error. But when the reality situation is that it kind of like went through a lot of stuff, like sometimes it's not exactly happened the way that it should supposed to be. Okay, there is a kind of like a lot of things there, that and that and that. And why am I kind of like doing this thing? Why am I not directly implement? Because of that, in my application there is almost like a hundreds of files, okay, hundreds of Kotlin files and things and that and that. And obviously this thing, when you have this much amount of file and this much amount of codes and things and that, it's directly implementation is a very risky, because you're not really sure which kind of like a code is actually connected with which kind of like a another thing. Like if I implement and if I kind of like a fix one thing, and then I will kind of like disturb another thing. It's a kind of like a building a block. Okay, you have to kind of like make sure that whatever the kind of like a block that you are kind of like replacing is a kind of like does not really affecting another block. Okay, so that is what it is. You just have to kind of like do everything and that and that and that. And because of this thing, more file it actually add in my project, the more kind of like simply time it take to kind of like investigate implementation and lot of stuff. Okay, yeah. And it's just not just one thing. Like I have to be kind of like somebody from the Firebase, I have to check the rules. Then after that, kind of like something the like a terminal from the PowerShell terminal, I have to be figure it out that Java and properly actually work or not. So this is a lot of things. Even if I don't know any kind of like a stuff about the application building, but kind of like it make me to kind of like do all those stuff. And just like, yeah, I'm kind of like sitting in front of my computer for more than like a last night I was kind of like a sit almost like a like 10 hour, okay, non-stop 10 hour, just yeah, 10-12 hours. These are kind of like simply very much common time that I'm kind of like sitting in front of my desk and kind of like doing my work. So yeah, another kind of like some issue, it's not actually issue regarding about application, it's a kind of like a things that key. Okay, so basically it's this thing that key in October, me and all my friends are actually kind of like planning to Goa. Okay, now the things is that na ki I have a responsibility to kind of like book the ticket, train ticket. Why do I have the responsibility? Okay, it's because of that ki like there is no one and I'm the only one who is a kind of like doing this thing. There is like basically is this thing that na ki rest of the people have a job and they don't really have any time to kind of like simply go to the railway station and kind of like book the ticket and things and that and that. By the way, why not you are kind of like doing this thing by online? Online is a bit more convenient, but the problem is that now we have to book almost like a 34 ticket. Okay, yeah, 34 ticket. And obviously in the online you can book almost like a 4 to 5 tickets, okay, yeah, in one go. So obviously is this thing I have to be kind of like go to the railway station and kind of like book the ticket. But it's not that much easy because of that. Now if I'm kind of like booking ticket by myself, I would kind of like do it kind of like way before now, and it doesn't really that mean it doesn't really kind of like put me that much in kind of like a tension and things and that and that. But I have to be book almost like a like how many 34 like sorry 30 people, okay, almost like a 20, yeah, 30 people. I have to book the ticket for 30 people, and there is a lot of things, okay, like finding the kind of like which train, which time, which is kind of like things, kind of like talk back and forth, which train is a kind of like a convenient for everybody, things and that and that. As also is this thing, the Goa is actually a little bit far away. It's not really far away, but kind of like a journey is kind of like really far away. Like basically, first of all, we are going to Wardha to Pune, then after that Pune to Goa, and then after that, after the trip and from Goa to Wardha. So we have kind of like 3 trains, okay. And another thing is that their fare price and their kind of like prices and their kind of like a timing. I have to be kind of like talk to the back and forth and things and that. Like basically is this thing, if I kind of like do this thing, like if like basically is this thing, everyone kind of like I have to kind of like last night we are kind of like have meeting regarding about that train arrangement and things and that and that. By the way, that we are actually kind of like somewhat something fix everything regarding about that, but still there is a lot of things, okay, yeah. Like basically yesterday we decided that we will kind of like pick this date and kind of like that and that and that. So yeah, but the problem is that the money issue, okay, yeah. Like basically I kind of like 100% realize that when I kind of like book the ticket, obviously most of people will kind of like somebody say this thing, I don't really have money or things and that, or maybe kind of like a stuff like that is kind of like a fucked up shit. And this actually happened every single time. So I like basically is this thing. The Badal is a kind of like handling the money part. I am kind of like handling just the booking part. I directly said to him, I will gonna book the ticket until and unless I have kind of like a full amount of money, and then I will kind of like book the ticket. And he said, yeah, like he said that I will kind of like somebody give it to you money, even if someone kind of like then we will kind of like take the money after some sort of time and things and that whatever. Okay, yeah. So money is not even kind of like issue, but booking ticket is my issue, and then I have to be kind of like a book the ticket. That is also another thing. Why are you kind of like doing this thing? Yeah. like like basically this thing, why not kind of like some other people kind of like do this thing, and you are kind of like do this thing even if you know that you have kind of like a lot of work and things and that and that. The problem is that as I mentioned, the rest of the people are kind of like a bit really busy regarding about doing their job and things and that and that. And because of I don't really have a job, so I'm kind of like a pathetic and loser. So that's why I'm kind of like a building. That's why I'm kind of like a somebody like a booking a ticket. Okay, like a sound so harsh, right? But that is true, by the way. Like basically, when we are kind of like living in society will kind of like a define success depend on what is actually work that you are doing. Okay, yeah. Even if you are kind of like somebody peon at kind of like some sort of organization, still you have a kind of like some job, and people kind of like respect you, and people kind of like say no, he doesn't really have any time, so he will not gonna book the ticket. Okay, yeah. But if you are kind of like a particular person who is kind of like a spend almost like a day and night in front of your desk and doing your work and things and that, and someone kind of like even if like you are putting that much amount of effort, people kind of like put you say this thing that you are kind of like wasting your time and things and that, and which is really true, by the way. You can't change other people's perspective. Okay, why? Because you can't. Even if you want, you cannot do this thing, because it's a kind of like a part of nature. It's a kind of like human psychology. Okay, yeah. So instead of kind of like argue about other people and things, and kind of like why not you kind of like simply trust me and things and that doesn't really make sense at all. So because in the end I have to be do this thing. Yeah, because no one kind of like put that much amount of things. But dude, why? Yeah. Like you have kind of like a lot of work to do now, so why you kind of like do this thing? It doesn't really make sense at all. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me tell you something. Sometimes okay, like stuff that I kind of like realize, okay, from okay, I wanted to be happy. Okay, yeah. And happiness is not only come from the money, it also came from the people. Okay, obviously I might have kind of like so much amount of money and things and that, but I wanted to be wealthy. Like basically is this thing na ki these people, those friends I have, these are the only one source of my happiness at the moment. Okay, in the future I don't know what will gonna happen and things and that, but these are the only people who are kind of like a source of my happiness. If those people are actually gone or I lose, I don't really have any kind of like a some happiness source. Like basically it's not really that I will kind of like die, but it just kind of like a life feel pathetic. I don't know. I kind of like experience this thing. When I have kind of like a too much amount of money, but you don't really have any friends, then whatever you do, it doesn't really make sense at all. Like basically it's this thing. Couple of years ago, I went to Goa. Okay, it's not really that. I kind of like went to the Goa. I didn't really enjoy that much. Why? Because I went with my family and things and that kind of like a cousin and things and that, and basically just yeah, like basically is this thing now. I kind of like a feel really kind of like a feel good and kind of like a happy with friends. Okay, yeah, family is I never really been that kind of like a somebody, yeah. And this is kind of like a somebody only source, and I don't want to lose that much kind of like some source. And basically is this thing, all I'm like friends I have, it's been almost like a 14 15 year 15 no not 15 year 16 year 16, yeah, 16 year. Okay, we've been kind of like a friends for almost like a 16 year. Okay, yeah. So there is a kind of like a long journey that we kind of like somebody like a travel together, and that is kind of like a thing that I don't want to lose. Okay, yeah, that is kind of like a things. So, and it's not really that I'm kind of like doing so much amount of work. It just kind of like I just have to book the ticket. That's it, na. Okay, yeah, like a money matter will kind of like somebody figure it out by the Badal. I just have to book the ticket. Okay, yeah, like like a Badal will kind of like say these are the kind of like a people, these are the train. You have to book this ticket, and that's it. I just have to go to the station and kind of like book the ticket, take the photo, send it to the photo. This is kind of like a PNR number, and that's it. Okay, yeah. So this is the kind of like a things that I have to do. Okay, yeah. Sometimes you have to do this thing, like basically this thing. Now, sometimes you have to just kind of like put the ego aside and kind of like somebody just kind of like somebody like yeah, other people don't really understand this and that, but if I want to be happy, okay, yeah, happiness come from the people, not from the money, like at least for me. Okay, yeah, so I wanted to kind of like protect my happiness. Okay, yeah. I want that those people will kind of like stick with me for the end of the lifetime, and for that particular purpose sometimes you have to put the effort, and I am putting effort. So yeah, because like basically this thing I realized that na ki for the small kind of like assembly, like a reason people kind of like assembly break their friendship or lost their friendship, or I don't know, I don't want to be that guy. Okay, yeah, because I realize what will gonna happen if you lose the people. Okay, yeah, so whatever. Okay, yeah, I just feel really good. Okay, like basically last night I haven't really recorded Artifact. The reason is that ki the the kind of like a thing actually happened in my home. Okay, and then kind of like a something rain. Okay, right now I kind of like a feel really good. By the way, last night I haven't really showered. Reason, the rain. Yeah, like basically it's this thing, because of the rain, the weather is a kind of like a completely drop, almost like a less than 20 degrees Celsius. And because of this thing, yesterday I haven't really showered and things like that, which is also kind of like a little bit of messy. After this Artifact, I will kind of like simply just shower first, then I will kind of like sit in front of my desk and kind of like do my work. All right. Also these are kind of like things, there is nothing really I have to be say. Everything is kind of like really good. I didn't really ask the question today is because of that key I have to be kind of like a talk about this particular stuff. Sometimes kind of like a simply Artifact is not meant to be kind of like ask the question. Sometimes kind of like a simply is this thing that key just talk about what exactly happened and things and that. So yeah. And also the weather is kind of like a really beautiful, by the way. Okay, yeah. Like there is no kind of like a rain, just cloudy. Yeah. There is only one thing that I wanted to do. Yeah. What is actually things? I don't know. I just like there is a one thing that I just wanted to publish my application. And dude, yeah, like if you publish the application, nothing really happened. Yeah, like if you're thinking that magically hundreds of people are kind of like recording Artifact, that is not gonna happen. That is definitely not gonna happen. Millions of apps uploaded every single day. That's like, and everyone kind of like try to hold the attention. Okay, yeah. I know Artifact is really good and really great, but like basically understand the reality. Okay, ask this question to yourself when you start recording Artifact. Like, are you uncomfortable? Yes, I was really uncomfortable. Okay, yeah. Like it took me almost like a month or maybe kind of like a 2-3 months to kind of like assembly be regular for the Artifact to kind of like a things. And this is kind of like me from my side, because like basically I started the Artifact and I'm kind of like a bit really hesitant to kind of like a record Artifact and things and that obviously people will do. Okay, so you will not gonna get growth automatically. Okay, so I know that. I just wanted to get out from this hellhole, like I just like every day, like like last night now my mother started crying, my father started crying and things and that. And I realized that now whatever the kind of like a issue I have, or maybe in my house, these are all issues are actually just from me. Okay, yeah, just like basically like just from me, because yeah, because I don't know. So I just want to get out. I just want to earn, like, build this application, earn the money, and just whatever. I have to end here. I don't know, like, basically I wanted to end the artifact, but I don't want to record. I don't want to end the artifact. I just want to talk, but I don't know what is exactly the reason that why I should supposed to talk. Yeah, just end it, by the way. Yeah, just end it. All right. This is it, and thank you.